Okay, in this video, I'd like to show everyone more on Coral Castle and Resonance, about how elite scaling was causing effects, the same thing as John Hutchinson was doing in Canada and others before him, like T.T. Brown and Byfield. So let's get into the video. Okay, first thing I want to show y'all are these pictures here. These pictures were taken by my friend in Florida, and she took these at like 6:30 in the morning and called me, and she was tripping because she just seen this go across the sky. And what it is, it's a rocket launch out of Cape Canaveral, and this is taken in Cape Coral, and it's making the same toroidal shape is what I'm showing you around this limestone that Ed was using to cause his effect. What he's doing is he's disrupting the magnetic field in this given area, and he's shorting out the system basically. So this is what it's showing you too. It's the same thing. This is what it's showing you in the atmosphere. It's showing that same toroidal deal. So what Ed's doing is basically this. And everybody's doing the same thing, because if you know this, you know you're basically what your unit volume is in time space. Okay, so I went to college for something called concrete technology, and it's dealing with limestone and Portland cement. So my degree is in applied science, which I have an associate's degree in. So I can apply science to other things. And when I'm looking at this whole Coral Castle deal, I went at this thing from every angle possible. So today we're going to be dealing with frequency and the limestone and stuff. So in school, they would have you do this thing to measure unit weight. And you would have a bucket and or a cylinder, and you just fill it full of water. Now, water weighs 8.33 pounds per cubic foot, so you know the weight of the water. And from that, you would screed off the top of it and make it perfectly level, because water always finds its own level. And you would take your calculation and get this thing called unit weight. Well, when you would fill the your bucket or your pail full of concrete, you would come up with this other thing called specific gravity. Okay, and this gets into the whole mass and the weight deal, and how you can negate it in space-time, or almost make it zero, or make it zero depending on how much power you're putting to it. Okay, so from this, you could basically tell how much volume is in a given increment of space, time. Because we're dealing with time. Because everything, the clock is always ticking once you start it in the matter universe. So basically, it's disrupting the magnetic field, and this is how this other stuff is working too. It's all working on the vibration, or the hum. And this gets into the solfeggio frequencies. Okay. Solfeggio frequencies, they're used in Gregorian chants. Now this is important because the Gregorian chants are what started these two priests who were doing recording with these specialized microphones from the Vatican back in the 40s or 50s. This is how they came up with the chronovisor. And the chronovisor is the device that looks into the past or the future using array of bismuth crystals. These solfeggio frequencies are really important. So this is what they look like. Here's the UT 396 hertz, the RE 417 hertz, the MI 528 hertz, the FA 639, the SOL 741, or the LA 852. And this is what they do. So when you're dealing with limestone, you're dealing with this whole deal where it exhibits unusual characteristics called retrograde solubility, which it becomes less soluble in water as the temperature increases. Okay? And the stone will actually change in the presence of a magnetic field too. So it'll actually change shape. We're getting to that. So stone levitation using sound. In the king's chamber, in the pyramid, it's 16 hertz. The chamber is used to amplify the sound. Pattern and frequencies have been detected there. They're using an F sharp chord. Okay, so the Egyptians thought that the F sharp chord was the harmonic frequency of the earth. 33 degrees seems to be the frequency inside of a crystal pyramid. 16 hertz at the lowest end of consciousness. The resonant frequency of granite and stone is 110 hertz. So that's what you're dealing with here. 110 hertz. Which is an A and resonates with the king's chamber coffer. Okay, so the F sharp and the A played together may result in stone levitation. Levitation means Latin for lightness. Okay, the yogis try to fly by maximizing the orderliness in their brain waves. This taps into the unified field of cosmic energy, the life force, okay, the prana, the chi, the kai. Okay. There was even this dude called Daniel Douglas who would like levitate outside his house, and he explained this by an electrical fullness in his feet that he would feel, and his arms became rigid and his arms went over his head as if grabbing an unseen power which was lifting him up. Okay, and people seen this dude doing this. So acoustic levitation of stones by monks using 13 drums and 6 trumpets. Okay, the monks are standing in a line behind the instruments. They get the small drum starts them off. Then they increase their tempo, and the sound waves are directed at the center of focus, which is this stone. And in the center, underneath the stone, there's a hole in this bowl, like a dielectric drain, like a low point in the material. So the sound waves are directed around the arc of the stones, around a third of the circle. The distance from the stone to the point of the drums is 63 meters. By conversion, 63 meters equals 206.2648062 geodetic feet, which is harmonically equal to the length of the Earth's radius in seconds of arch relative to the surface. Okay. This is theoretical harmonic of the mass of the Earth's surface. Then you get into this neat little equation here. This is Tesla's scalar waves. This is just something that I think is a problem that Dollard had just came up with on the chalkboard, and I just copied this down. He's talking about Tesla scalar waves, 12 hertz, and a storm frequency of 500 kilohertz, I think it says, capacity to ground and capacity to the ionosphere. So that's how this whole deal is working. Like I said, it's just using the ionosphere and the ground just like capacitor plates. And this is your Tesla equation circuit. So that's how this whole thing is working. It's just about getting everything in resonance and frequency. The Great Pyramid has a baseline frequency of 1.5 hertz trithymic entrainment frequency, which syncs the pulse of the hypothalamus, the pineal gland, and the pituitary gland to function in unison. It also is the lowest frequency of Schumann resonance. The pyramid could be shifting the Earth's frequency down from 7.3 hertz to the trithymic entrainment frequency of 1.5 hertz. The pineal gland contains monocrystalline calcite biominerals that transduce frequency of consciousness. This is important. The same thing that this rock is made out of, calcite limestone. It's the same thing that's in your pineal gland. That's what gets calcified when you use fluoride. Okay, in 1986, a patent for a parabolic reflector that puts 200 watts of light in a 2 millimeter point capable of melting granite at 2 millimeters per pass came out. So Ed could have had the same thing, because a lot of his stuff on the stones and stuff, you see them like they're charred and they're black and stuff. So he could have had some deal where he had a laser and he's using heat the other end of the spectrum and he's cutting. So he could be doing a whole bunch of different things. 127 kilohertz at the top of the pyramid, 117 kilohertz at the sarcophagus. This matches newborn infant's heartbeat, and it sinks it in to rhythm. So infrasound is your lowest frequency at 0.5 hertz. So how do you calculate resonant frequency? You must know the capacitance, or the elasticity of the object, and the inductance, or the amount of energy applied to the object. You multiply your inductance by your capacitance using an LCR meter. Okay, the inductance is the unit pico Henry. So, and the capacitance is the unit picofarad. So that's how you come up with this whole thing. You got to know all these factors. Once you know all these factors, then you get your effects. So in limestone levitation, water is slightly repelled by a magnet because it's diamagnetic. There's no north or south in the diamagnetic material. Diamagnetic materials are always repelled by magnetic fields. So Stuart Swerdlow makes this point here that every point in space-time has its own unique frequency and vibration. If you can vibrate a person or an object to a distant space-time, it has instant connection or instantaneous action at a distance. So David Sereda says that to calculate frequency, it's the speed of light divided by the wavelength. He says that frequency is the universal language because it does not change with any measuring system. So this is very important. Frequency is the universal language. It does not change with any measuring system. So that's how this whole thing is working. And I think I'm going to end the video here. But it's all about the higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength, or getting to that 0 point where there is no frequency and there is no wavelength. because there's no modulation. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope you catch my next one. Thanks.